Hi, this is Adrian, and I wanted to sit down and just share a point that um, has popped up in my head a few times. Um, like I've thought about sharing it a few times before, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it. So here I am. That is the point of work and basically having resistance to work and just learning to embrace that work and looking at how I defined work in my life. Um, so typically, like in my life, I have a history basically of being lazy when it comes to work. That um, I don't have some kind of energetic, like positive drive to go do the work, or maybe I don't see like an immediate um, benefit to me. I've always been kind of like lazy and like trying to get out of it and like, oh, why should I do this? I shouldn't have to do this. Um and I mean, like, yes, granted, nobody should ever have to really um, be a slave, but then again, when I look at the circumstances and the conditions, it's specific. And I can definitely say that this is an instance where um, that slavery is really quite cool. I've come to sort of welcome it and embrace it, because what I realized was whenever I got free time, or I didn't have any kind of responsibility or obligation, I would basically just abuse, like, a lot. Like, the nature of my being very pretty much had become um, abuse, um, as it is with all beings in this world, as every being is having to exist from a starting point of survival and competition. Um, so when I started basically in the last couple of years having to really, I started working a full-time job and having to commit to that and do it well and everything. I had a lot of resistance in the beginning. It was like, oh, I don't want to work. Why should I have to work? And it was interesting. I noticed there's even a bit of like self-righteousness in there, like trying to justify, like, oh, I shouldn't have to be a slave and I deserve to be free and that kind of thing. But really, again, I would then look at like who I was on my weekends and who I was when I had free time, and I would just abuse. I mean, there was nothing good or beneficial towards everybody that work was keeping me from doing. It actually turned out to be the opposite, where that work was actually kind of like an anchor that kept me away from that free choice, that free reign to just abuse. Um, and I just kind of started to realize that this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what people need. Unfortunately, currently, at this stage in time, we require these cages. Um, and I mean, you can either then go two ways. You can resist it, or you can just like I've been kind of pointing out, you can embrace it and actually go, okay, well, maybe there's something to actually learn. And I mean, there really has been for me. I've had to just kind of get back down to earth and let go of that self-righteousness and all the desires and like deservingness of like, oh, I should be free to do what I want, and um, just learn to just do the work, because it's just a struggle basically between my self-interest and something else. Like, whether or not I'm even actually doing good work or not is even kind of irrelevant, because the one certainty I do have is that it is basically, again, it's going against, it's stopping that point of self-interest. So just having to like do things that are not for me, apparently it actually is for me in the long run, but things that seemingly have no benefit for me, that's just for other people, that's just fulfilling a task or a role, an obligation, no matter how pointless it is. I mean, again, that would be like that's a perfect typical example of like the excuse where you can easily justify it to yourself. Well, the work I'm doing isn't really good work and it's not really beneficial towards everybody. But again, specific context. I saw that yes, this is in the long run actually accumulatively going to support everybody because it's supporting me to stop my bullshit self-interest and and just kind of keep me on task. I find it's very easy to really kind of fall and really go into the deep end of self-interest and just completely lose yourself. So anyway, I basically found that I really can't be trusted with power, free choice, free will, free time. And I'm really like grateful for my work because it's kind of keeping me on task, so to speak, because it's putting me in that situation of, again, doing things that are not for me. So basically, as far as the ego is concerned, it doesn't matter whether the thing that's not for me, that's not for the ego, is a pointless task or a task that ends up benefiting everybody. It really doesn't matter because, in any case, as long as it's something that's not going to benefit the ego, then in the long run it does benefit everybody. I mean, just purely living that way in everything that you do, even right down to the smallest things. It doesn't have to. You don't necessarily have to see exactly how it's going to accumulate into what's best for everybody. It's just realizing that you're taking away the self-interest. You're stopping the greed and the self-interest. So yeah, if you're a lazy bum like me, definitely perspective to consider is embrace that work and like really embrace it. Just do things. It doesn't matter what the resistance says or how good the justification is. Just stop, breathe, and just do it. And it's quite interesting to see the effect that has on you when you start doing things like that. It's actually for the first time not based in your self-interest, because if you really start to have a look, you'll start to see that so many of the things that maybe all the things that you're doing in your life is basically all self-interest. So work was definitely a cool support point for that, and so within this cage, this enslavement, it's a good opportunity to develop self, and yeah, it just it puts me in kind of a work mode where I'm actually doing real work, not just work that's going to only bring me some kind of benefit. So, okay, that's the point. Thank you very much. Bye bye.